Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Tavern Talk. That's right, we are a live talk show based on the epic fantasy series Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. We are new time, but same old amazing content. Joining me as always is my brother Dan.
Hi.
Dad's fighting Sadai.
Hello.
And Jansen the Gleeman. Jansen, let me get these texts off your face. Here we go. Yeah, we gotta see that mug. All right, speaking of mugs, Dad's fighting drinking out of one. An ignoble mug is gonna come on soon. The beanie mug. He will be joining us. We are going to be starting our new series that I've spontaneously called Read React, where we are going to jump into this book. Wow, my assistant right here is showing us The Wheel of Time and Philosophy. This is a compilation of philosophy professors, philosophy students, lovers of philosophy and the Wheel of Time, and they break down the series. Not unlike our conversations, but they add a lot more commas. So we're going to go into the first chapter, and yeah, this is going to be exciting.
Right.
And I want to go on, Dan.
I was going to say this book it's 18 essays total through 5 different thought umbrellas within philosophy, and it's like Ryan said, a lot of scholars, a lot of professors, a lot of notes. It is not a book that is officially endorsed or produced by the Wheel of Time estate, but based on this first chapter, they are entirely respectful, and this chapter is really talks about Robert Jordan's writing process itself and what he was trying to develop. And I think they shouldn't have any issue as far as them trying to besmirch Robert Jordan in any way through this.
Yeah, and if you have not read this chapter or ordered the book yet, you can still enjoy this video. We will be very transparent about what we're talking about, and we'll reference the text more broadly. But yeah, there are some really fascinating arguments. I personally, this might be like a groundbreaking seminal essay in my life, because I have a very hard time with I've fallen into the trap, and we can just get into it. I have fallen numerous times into the trap that the original artist who creates the movement is should win the WrestleMania, right? Like, I've always kind of had this, that if you are the first person literally come up with all of these movements in art, cubism, from music to and it never is this so cut and dry, but the originators of what then becomes like a genre of an art, I've always held to a higher esteem. But now I'm starting to think of it more like those fucking tier lists, right? Where you have to you get a plus 10 bonus to be an originator, but on all these other categories, how do you stand up? And more modern takes of that original idea could literally be better art, and I have not allowed that to be true to me. So this whole essay was really cool for me, because I have very strong opinions, and now I'm changing my mind.
Before we jump into it, we are going to be talking about an essay called Tolkien's Influence in the World of the Wheel of Time. It is written by Michel Antoine Genesi. And he is an instructor of philosophy at Capilano University. He specializes in aesthetics, philosophy of art, and the philosophy of literature. He's written a bunch of books, and says he'd really, really like to get his hands on a copy of Mirrors of the Wheel, so he can read more about the portal stones and the dinosaurs lurking behind them.
Well,
All right, so that's what we're talking about. And Ryan, to your point, I too, when I first read Eye of the World, I saw the obvious Tolkien references. I mean, the Rand hiding in the woods is almost like Frodo hiding from the Nazgul with the ring and stuff. Like, there's all these different beats that I was like, gosh, this seems familiar. But according to the book, this was something that was done intentionally. This familiarity. It says, quote, in the first chapters of The Eye of the World, I tried for a Tolkien-esque feel without trying to copy Tolkien's style. But that was by way of saying to the reader, okay, this is familiar. This is something you recognize. Now let's go where you haven't been before. So I guess let's ask you what. Yes, right.
I was gonna say, like, and for me, that demarcation point, and this is, we could argue this to the cows come home, but that demarcation point for me was when Maureen's staff burned up, and she's like, "Ah, well, I don't need this anyways," and throws it aside. And I thought, funny. Okay, like there's, like, now we're like teleport, we're beyond the homage in a very like literal sense.
So what do you guys, when you read it, we have Trollocs, we have Fades, we have these things that the Mountain of Doom, but we add an H in our Doom. I mean, so did you recognize the Tolkien influence in the first three books?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I did not, because I had never read that shit. So just TVH. I saw the movies, and now I saw it like posthumously, but as I was reading, I did not pick up on any of it. Go on.
To be fair, I had read and all of the Hobbit books, J.R. Tolkien books, but also growing up, I saw a cartoon called Thundar the Barbarian. And in this cartoon, Thundar lived in a different time, and all the time he would go through different portals of the same place in different times, and he would meet these different people and have to fight for different causes and all these things. So I was already familiar with that kind of writing. It never struck my mind that the Wheel of Time was a copycat.
Didn't Thundar have a sword that when he held it became like a blue fire thing or something, but when he put it on his belt, it stopped? Or was that someone else?
Possibly at one point he did, but even at that, there was a guy during all of those kinds of cartoons who I forgot what his name was. He literally went through each of the cartoons, and he met like everybody from the Thundercats to everyone. Wow. And like they were doing the multiverse thing years before they did it now. Like, they're just doing it differently. And Robert Jordan found a way to do it in literature that was way, way, way cooler than anybody else.
Okay. The premise of the essay is more or less that Robert Jordan didn't essentially copy. He wasn't copying, and what he was doing was more on a meta level by incorporating stories like the Mosk and Merc, by having the Mercedes-Benz symbol. We now know that the Wheel of Time, our time, is part of the Wheel of Time. And as a result, the Lord of the Rings is part of the Wheel of Time.
No, and that's a point that like blew my mind. Right, that's the point where I started to like, okay, now I'm super excited by this whole series we're doing, guys, and I just want to fucking say this is so cool. But also like the fact that like, okay, that it took. I don't even. It took. I don't. Dan, you noticed or I feel like you read on a blog somewhere that there's a Mercedes sign, and then you told me, and then we were like, "What does that
Yeah,
even
I
mean?"
think
Like,
so.
we didn't. We were just like, okay. So there's that. So now we're talking about like the nature of like influence, or as the writer at one point says, the influence of influence, which I love philosophy. Mwah. But like influences influence on a piece, does it detract, or is there a function where it can actually enhance and make it quote unquote more creative? And he's arguing that it can actually make it more creative, and he's like like the prime example is Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, where he takes Tolkien. Not only does he stylistically reference it, not only does he use the tropes that Tolkien invented, but he like incorporates that world in such a way that the author says that there will have been, or there has been, a dragon named Smog in the Robert Jordan's world of the Wheel of Time. And that goes boom. Because why the fuck is it called a dragon anyways? Like that's always been a question in my mind. Like there's no examples of dragons. I actually thought dragons came from maybe like primitive people seeing like nuclear war, and they call that, rockets in the sky dragons or something. I could not put together where dragons came from, but if you bring in the Lord of the Rings and you believe that Robert Jordan's saying, yes, that is an eventual turning of the wheel that we're going to experience, the dragon is
Well,
still.
it's not only dragons, it's that fictional dragon Smog. So yes, we have dragons in our society, even though they're fictional. And so we don't have to see a dragon in order to know what a dragon is for all of us. If I say picture a dragon in your head, unless
there it is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and speaking of dragons, Dan, let's bring in.
Yeah, so that sword, he would like clip onto his belt and it would turn off. And it would just be a little handle. And then he would take the little hand off and it would go and turn into like his lightning sword.
Oh, nice one, brother. Dang.
Yeah.
All right.
Look at that hair, man. Get it up, 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4.
He is unleashed.
Josh is knocking at the door. Let him in. Open the door.
He'll eat a peach.
His name is. It's poison. It is known. Happy Halloween, everybody! Yesterday or last week, Friday, Saturday.
Hello.
Hello.
Josh.
How's it going, y'all?
Good.
We're going well. We're already into this book. Ryan's last comment was about how the Wheel of Time will have the dragon Smog because the Lord of the Rings is incorporated within the mythology because it is part of our time here.
Well, it's more than that, though, right? It's both the mythological world of all of the fictional books of our time plus our time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say that's how I interpreted that. Is not necessarily that one of the ages is going to be Middle Earth and Gandalf, but the Wheel of Time starts. I think even in this chapter it says that each book starts with the opening Wheel of Time statement of the Wheel of Time, ages come and go. Legend fades to myth, and then it basically insinuates that like whatever is in our world right now, we've got the Lord of the Rings, books and movies and whatever. So 2 ages from now, maybe they find some text or something that references this Tolkien world, and they take it as part of our history, and so it references these things that we find, and they're like, oh man, back in the first age, they had dragons, they had elves, they had wizards. And really, it's our fiction and our, whatever. Just as we found, the third age in Robert Jordan's books, and we're discussing it right now. But that's the world that they lived in. So we're saying like, oh wow, in this world they can channel fire and earth and stuff like that. What is strange.
All right. So like famously, like characters in Wheel of Time are reading books that we don't get to read.
Mm-hmm.
But right.
I can't believe I missed The Sail Beyond the Sunset.
Oh, okay.
In book. I mean, I wasn't reading The Great Hunt with you all, I guess, at the time. But
no, not like not week to week or whatever. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so the books within the books. So the Lord of the Rings, you're saying is if the story was in our world, like there'd just be a character sitting in a coffee shop reading the Lord of the Rings, and that would be the reference.
Yeah, and then they're referencing that as as some reality. And
not necessarily, right? Not necessarily as truth. I mean, if Loyal is able to read a fictional text from our time by Robert Heinlein, why wouldn't they understand that The Lord of the Rings is also a fictional text from our timeline? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that like we can go both ways.
Or because they're just getting fragments of it, just like
exactly.
Floating in the sun.
Yeah, apocryphal. Or
but I do believe the thesis statement or one of his thesis kind of like statements was that he believed Robert Jordan's intention was that the world he's creating, like the Lord of the Rings, is one of those turnings of the wheel. That's what I got out of that.
Well, that Robert Jordan's project is more broad than even Tolkien's by trying to incorporate these fictional mythologies, which I suppose all mythologies are potentially fictional to some extent. Sorry, Bible thumpers, but the project is to include all of these things into the potential truth of the Wheel of Time, right?
Yeah.
The world building of the Wheel of Time.
Well, but let's dig into this, why Robert Jordan used such a heavy-handed. He said that it was to make you feel familiar, to make you feel comfortable, and then we can go ahead and change
that. At least in book one.
I think it was way crazier than that.
Talk to me.
So if you think about the ultimate paradox, what Robert Jordan did, saying that he wanted to make us familiar with things by using the Lord of the Rings, it's like almost as if you say like, well, he copied the Lord of the Rings, and it's like, how can you say that? He's the creator. So he pretty much made, whatever happens, Robert Jordan made himself God. He made himself the creator of everything.
Right.
Because it all folds in on himself, and he created it. He's the creator. So the creator got the idea from something that he created.
So we're talking about just like meta level thinking, right? With this storytelling.
Yeah. For those of us who
like the reasons behind the decisions.
But all right. So the question is, and it's right here. It's like, quote, does that not show that Wheel of Time is derivative of Lord of the Rings? It isn't derivativeness an artistic defect?
Well, he goes on to prove that is not the case, given art criticism of history. But
I do want to get into the Oscar Wilde quote. So he has in defense of that, a quote that says, "To influence a person is to give him one's own soul. He does not think his natural thoughts are born with his natural passions. His virtues are not real to him. His sins, if they are such as sins, are borrowed. He becomes an echo of someone else's music and the actor of a part that has not been written for him." And so that made me start thinking about myself, right? So I moved, and the only musical options for me were like cover or blues stuff. And so I chose not to do. I haven't played music with people. I don't play music. Everyone wants to do cover songs, and I'm like, I don't want to. So let's take Tolkien invented this genre as we know it, correct? The adult literature-based analogy that is adult fantasy writing, correct?
I mean, I would say that he's like the George R. Martin of his time, right? He took ideas and then twisted. He basically did exactly what we're talking about.
Right. To your point, because elves existed before he wrote. Dwarves existed before he wrote. These things did exist. So he did borrow and use them to his own means.
Well, as does Robert Jordan borrow from Norse mythology and turns all these things on their head, borrows little bits from them, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's what the quote says.
Go ahead.
Sorry, there's a whole little quote on page 4 that talks about that, where he's borrowing from Arthurian legend and he's blending it with Norse myth, Greek myth, and so on. And it says, they will not be taken whole. However, what will be done is to show occurrences which could, over thousands of years, be distorted into sources of their myths, which I found very fascinating. So he's borrowing things that we would recognize and blending them with other things that we would recognize. And so you have, it talks about, Matt representing Odin or Rand representing Arthur. And then Lord of the Rings as well, things like that. And it's all blended together in things that we can and cannot recognize. So there were symbols and stuff that I mentioned here that honestly, like the Mercedes-Benz symbol, I missed that completely. I thought it was a peace symbol.
I did too.
Yeah. So when they said Mercedes-Benz, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it went right over my head. But I did catch a lot of other things. So it's blended together like that.
Does anyone join me in thinking that Robert Jordan was oddly heavy-handed with his references, though? Naming Guinevere.
I think that he might have told himself that if he was
Arthur Pendragon,
people would think more of him trying to steal something. I think he was blatant about it on purpose. I think that's a way better.
No, I think there's a million examples of names kind of altering just a little bit over the ages, and he's just continuing with that.
Yeah,
I think that's like to create like the cultural, like, I don't know, epigenetic memory of each age. Like there's similarities in how these names come out. I think that's like there's a lot of examples of that. So
but with the Arthurian, to me, with the Arthurian more so with the Lord of the Rings, but with both of them, he is a little heavy-handed with how he is incorporating them in to his own story. I mean,
to go along with what Ryan's saying, I mean, could you imagine a world where that's just the emergent property of an Arthurian hero? If Arthurian myth serves as a backbone of the wheel's reality, wouldn't it make sense that the names just kind of are an emergent property of the characters as they're spun out from the wheel? It's not a heavy-handedness so much as it is an emergent property of their correlation to the mythological underbelly.
So Galad is Galahad.
That's right. Right.
I mean,
Egwene is Guinevere.
Not to get too meta, but yes.
He writes about this in, I think it's in The Eye of the World, I think. He writes about this, where he says Rand hears voices from all times, and he says, like, Oscar instead of Oterin.
That's what I was trying to reference, yeah.
Yeah, Charles
Peter instead of Peter.
Yeah, he hears that. He actually writes that in. So yeah, you guys are right.
There was those twins, Lol and Elmao, the great comedians. I mean, you would just say Lol and LMAO. Anyways,
I mean, or Dan, if anything, it's like draw your focus to it and watch him subvert it. Right, like if anything, he's trying to be like a matador with his like cape, like, oh, look over here, and then woo, like you run through it, assuming this is just like a corollary, and he's just like, nope, it's just one of many like ages that I'm gonna like be incorporating. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but look, would there have been Ogier if Tolkien hadn't created Tree Brothers already with the Ents? You know, it's like there is.
Yeah, but didn't they come from the Book of Translation though? Didn't they have to open a portal to get here?
No, just the
Uh-huh.
very idea, the very concept, them being these slow,
Well, I think
thoughtful.
this is the whole. I mean,
you
this is the
know,
whole argument about the reality assumption, right? That like that's all part of the background of this fictional undertaking that we call fantasy.
uh-huh. Yeah, and like so I guess yes, you're right, Dan. Like there would not be this nor that. Like A and B would not produce C if there was an A and B. I get that, but what are you trying to say about that?
well,
I
I
think
guess what I'm. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's possible that sometimes, you know, this chapter was, or this paper anyway, was about influence, and I think Robert Jordan was massively creative, so he would have created the Ogier, and then I think along the way he's like, so they come from the Book of Translation, they come from another world, you know, a mirror world or whatever, and then they get to Randland, the Westlands, and then they start taking care of trees and stuff, and then and then you see the influence perhaps of the Ents.
Where do we learn about the Book of Translation, that the Ogier come from the Book of Translation?
I think we learned that later.
Very first time we hear about it, I believe we hear about it when Rand first meets Loyal. Like, I believe he says that in one sentence. But then we hear about it later, mostly from Loyal's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, during the last couple books. Yeah.
And then between her, Elaine, and Loyal during the last battle.
The last battle, right.
Yeah, but the point was that we create and then maybe realize the influence afterwards, instead of copying and saying, okay, I'm going to borrow the tree people from Lord of the Rings. We start to create these creatures, and then we realized we've been influenced by Tolkien, or we've been influenced by Arthur, legend or whatever. It wasn't necessarily that we're stealing it, but the nature of influence is to sort of permeate our creativity, and then we create our own versions of these things and realize, oh yeah, kind of like the tree people, or kind of like, Gandalf, or kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that, but there's also the idea that he did this entirely on purpose, but for a broader reason, Dan, that I don't know if you've yet to touch upon it. If he did this all on purpose, and he's trying to say, and I'm going to read a quote here. Could you guys try to squirm out of this shit? But
page 8?
No, right? We're on page 7. Going towards the bottom, it says, Wheel of Time and Lord of the Rings are thus very much alike in conception, although Wheel of Time's real-world borrowings are perhaps easier than see the Lord of the Rings. But Wheel of Time takes things a step further than Lord of the Rings, and it incorporates the story of the Lord of the Rings into its own background. In other words, it is not just the case that the Lord of the Rings influenced Jordan. Rather, it is true in Wheel of Time that there was once, or will one day be, a dragon called Smaug, a race of hairy-footed hobbits, a flaming eye in the sky, and so on. That's a huge claim. And then he goes further to explain, yes, it's extravagant, but he has two main reasons why he thinks that's real, and he argues it further. But
those two reasons I don't think are great, though. I don't know. It's
especially because on the page, I think it's page 6, right before that, he's a little bit off about what he says, because he says that the books don't tell us that the people are human. That's not true. A lot of people tell us in the books, a lot of entities, a lot of from the Dark One to everything, calling people human to everything. We even hear about physiology a lot.
Is the word human ever used though?
Yes.
Yeah. Ogier calls him, you humans.
No, you humans are so used to it.
But does he ever call an IO human?
Almost every time a Marginal talks to anybody who's a human, he says human. Almost every single time. Even Grendel talks to the Forsaken altogether and says,
one could imagine that still being shorthand for creature, mammalian creature with 2 legs and not an Ogier. I mean,
the Forsaken call humans.
Yeah, I remember Grendel says, "Are we human? No, the new name's going to have to be made about us." She says that to the Forsaken when they're having one of their meetings together. And Egwene, like I said, and I always remember this because they never said it. I don't remember them saying this ever before, but she even says what the human brain looks like when she is picking walnuts for the 3 Aes Sedai, one which is a dark sister in the tower when she's captured. She says as they are cracked full, they look like little tiny brains. So
you
they
didn't pick up on that, did you, Josh?
They know about that. They have
Josh.
doctors over in Amadisia, so there's only one way that they could have learned anything, and we know how brutal they are down there.
Yeah, well, his 2 rationale here is, quote, our world is in Watt's background, and Lord of the Rings features prominently in our world. And number 2, the frequent allusions to the Lord of the Ring, especially in the Eye of the World. The explanation itself is meta. Then it's saying, well,
yeah,
look,
it is.
Look, because he obviously. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Because it's so ham-handed and obvious that it proves the point?
Well, I mean, I reject.
We'd have to agree that it's ham-handed, I suppose, and not an emergent property of the reality.
Right.
But
it's just like.
So, I mean, okay, from page 8 here. We saw that
I was at a party and there was 6 Ryans there. If I was an author, that's like bad writing. You can't you don't want 6 Ryans, but that's just
there's multiple. There's often 2 Joshes at the party too. So
something else Robert Jordan did that obviously they didn't do in that show, but when they're talking about in this chapter, they're talking about how in the background you can assume that it's like how our human world is. You can assume it's like ours, unless told
otherwise.
Yep.
So what Robert Jordan does, especially in a lot of small descriptions, is he changes it subtly by telling us certain
things being poisonous
that can happen.
The weeks being 10 days.
Weeks being 10 days, like especially things that happen when they go into the ways or into portal stones and things like that completely change the physics outside of something that can happen in our world.
My rain stepping over the building.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they're also experiencing it through their own flawed POV, which could be experiencing trauma at the moment. They could be running for their lives and so it's we assume it's like our world,
unrealistic realities in our world too, right?
Yeah,
mental illness or drugs or duress.
Josh, what were you going to read on page 8?
It's basically just tying together all the things that we've talked about to now. We saw that Lord of the Rings is supposed to be a story from our own world's distant past. And we said that Wheel of Time is a story from our distant past future as well. Putting these together, we arrive at the surprising claim that the events of Lord of the Ring, in some shape at any rate, likewise lie in Wheel of Time's distant past and future, just as the Cold War and dinosaurs do. This shows why Jordan's allusions to Tolkien are so interesting. They are part and parcel of a broader mythopoetic project, and I think that's the important part, that he has shared with Tolkien, though the scale of his ambition was much larger. By incorporating a fictional mythology into his own fictional mythology, Jordan played with storytelling norms in a new and interesting manner. And this is that non-derivativeness.
Mm-hmm. And Josh, it was crazy. You're constantly finding this shit on your own as a first-time reader.
Yeah. What do you mean? Oh, it's seeing those interconnections and relations. Yeah, they were really apparent. A lot of them.
Yeah, it's amazing. You've only read it once. Wow.
Here, I guess here's something I bristled at a little bit. Here it says, in fact, we now have the resources. This is on page 9 at the bottom. In fact, we now have the resources to meet this charge against Watt. After all, the fact that artist 1 was influenced by artist 2 was influenced by artist 1 does not entail that artist 2's work is less creative or original than artist 1's. On the contrary, it often allows artist 2 to be more original, which I agree with within genres themselves. I mean, you have like the first heavy metal song is what, let's say it's
Inagata Devita.
Yeah.
Unlistenable.
But I mean,
you can break this down to the simplest form. You guys remember when Super Mario Brothers came out? Then for the next 10 years, all video games had that same kind of format.
Energy format.
Once something else came out, all video games had that format. And now most video games have a free rolling experience, because it was such a better format that someone elaborated on and made it better. But they don't, nowadays they don't say that, I suppose the very first game after Mario Brothers, someone said, "Oh, they stole from Super Mario Brothers," because they probably did.
Yeah, but, I'm sure they did. Yeah.
They were actively. I mean, even if you look at this history of Doom, and they were actively stealing from one another, competing. Like, I don't know if you've ever listened to podcasts about the creation of Doom, but it's fascinating.
Yeah, and I love that metaphor because no one's favorite game is Super Mario Brothers 1. It's usually Super Mario Brothers 3, right? Like Demon's Souls is the first Soulsborne game that started it all, and I love it, but it's not my favorite Soulsborne game. Right? That's insane. I don't ever want to touch that game with a 10-foot pole. But
Deadshot in DC is Slade Wilson, and Deadpool and Marvel is Wade Wilson.
Right.
Obviously, there's something stolen.
Oh man, yeah. DC and Marvel are constantly.
Oh my god,
it's amazing.
I know. I think Dan, your brain is melting. So you're on Team Progenitor. You love the Progenitor.
What I'm saying is that I think that we're giving Robert Jordan a lot of latitude when we read a line that says, "quote." Most prominently, Jordan wanted to ease readers into his world by giving them a sense of familiarity. And I'm like, I don't like that sentence at all. I don't like that. Ease them in with a sense of familiarity. This is either either sellout stuff because it's oh, I gotta catch them, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, how much credit are we giving J.R.R. Martin?
For
the
what?
name alone. We gave him a ton of credit. Do we give him a lot of latitude for his creation that he definitely used a platform for? And they even speak about it in this chapter about how he gave homage to Robert Jordan with naming one of the houses after him.
Right.
Yeah.
So do we give him that same latitude, or do we take that away from him?
I don't find Game of Thrones nearly as derivative, I guess.
Okay.
But there's all there are a lot of those corollaries all over the place.
Ryan, really you're saying you don't even know if it's science fiction or not.
Well,
which one? Both novels, right?
Well, Well,
Game of Thrones for sure.
Chapter. Yeah. Remember, they also talked about trees and bolts,
and
inevitably
rivets. Actually, but yes.
I know, but Dan, Song of Ice Fire is obviously, and fucking, there's knights, there's castles, there's horses, there's arrows, there's crossbows.
Yeah.
That
it's
is
a fantasy environment, sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then he iterates off of that. But just because he didn't invent that shit doesn't mean it's a better piece of work than the first person to write a fucking like a medieval story.
The most money-making franchise in the world, one of them is Star
My
Wars.
mom's only fan.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's literally also derived from Tolkien. Maybe more so than Wheel of Time. Would you level these criticisms at George Lucas?
If he called names that were just slight variations to what they are in the
But
books,
aren't
then yeah,
no,
I kinda
you're
would.
so hung up on that shit,
Yeah,
man.
maybe
Like
I
even
don't
Star
know, man.
Trek Star Trek took some stories from Greek mythology and
especially the first,
and
the
did a
original.
lot of those things, and they're considered pretty much the godfather of sci-fi. And also something I've had the very much privilege.
Dan, I'm arguing he did not. He slightly altered the names, not to pay homage, but to literally give you a deeper, enriched experience of the world. He's talking cosmology. He's talking about the nature of souls and time.
But
like
why are we told that he did it to ease the reader in with a sense of familiarity? That those two don't match to me.
Okay, like it depends. Like, if he's being interviewed like on the stage of Comic-Con and he's got like a 30 seconds to answer a damn question, that's one thing. Like if you're trying, like rarely is we're trying to get at like the real shit here, not like the things he might have flippantly like that's part of it, but also. Or you just don't think the author's whole argument is fucking bullshit. And
I want to know what's at stake here for Dan. Is Dan saying that Wheel of Time is a cover band?
I'm saying that Wheel of Time is Joe Cocker.
Are you saying so? You're saying Robert Jordan should have been more creative and come up with something else?
No, I think he expanded the story greatly. I'm just talking that the Eye of the World. I think we aren't giving credit to the fact that he kind of maybe copied it to get people to buy it and so that he could tell a story more. This isn't unheard of for him to be like, oh, I can, I won't have orcs, I'll have troll orcs.
I think that he.
I think that definition sounds more like J.R.R. Martin than Robert.
I'm gonna name my main character Perry Hodder.
Mermione. I think it's look, the Wheel of Time philosophy is really heavy, and I think if he had been like chapter 1, here's how the wheel works, here's how the true source does the Wheel of Time, here's how people are reincarnated over and over in ages and whatever, he would just sort of lost everybody. And it might have been fascinating, but it was very heavy, and he spread that out throughout the book so that we get an idea of the way that the wheel spins, the way the wheel spins into the pattern, the way that people are brought in and brought out, recurring over time, the way that the world itself goes through the spokes of the ages and stuff like that. And so, I think that he put the Tolkien stuff in there to kind of get us at least a foundation that the reader could latch onto as he was going to progress this philosophy. So I don't think that it was a point of just borrowing names and going like, oh, I'll just use Guinevere, Schmenevere, and whatever.
That right there says he was trying to get people to in.
Into his world.
He was trying to draw people into his writing. This is his life's work we're talking about, you guys.
I like that theme in LBF. And
LBF goes on. He says in the early 90s, you had to be writing something Tolkien-esque or it wouldn't be published if you're going for high fantasy. Yeah. And I think these are all valid points, and I don't think this essay is a bit apologetic and doesn't address the fact that I think that this is a valid thing that he borrowed a lot in order to get it published for us to be able to do it.
So you don't believe so the idea that like Tolkien's claim that the Lord of the Rings happens in our world, right? Like, and so which I didn't know. Right, because I didn't know that shit, but like now I know, and wait, hold on, but like
Oh,
No, wait, what do you mean? Like if George R. if like Robert Jordan knows this and is playing with that idea,
That's it.
it has to be relevant. The
No,
names
think about this, like,
yeah.
without like all, because if you think about all the debate, you don't think about the fact that if someone is thinking about like an idea, like what can I write about, like what can I think, what can I draw my story from? It's just like Jerry Seinfeld or something sitting around talking to somebody like, hey, what if I made a show about nothing? And then it started blossoming between him and Larry and all these other people. But what if Robert Jordan was just simply thinking, what if I wrote a story, but it was because of everything?
Yeah. A
What
story
if
of everything.
started that as the basis of what he drew his story from? Then, if that's the case, then this is like the most, amazing thing that's ever been written, because it's not something that he's stealing or something that he's even borrowing from per se. He's crafting a story around all of the truths of all other mythology and all other nonfiction around him.
Yeah. It's the whole mythopoetic idea that
project, exactly, which I think is the most important part from this chapter, really.
Yeah, that
okay,
they like
explore
like,
that. What do you mean
by this is a mythopoetic project?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean he's also trying to write
otherwise known as foreplay Dan.
How exciting.
He, like Tolkien, is trying to write a mythology for our times, from our time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why he incorporates all of these like modern influences and these little stabs and digs and, literally like the pieces of metal buried in the sand, in the slag. Like,
oh my God. What if J.R. Tolkien was the Dark One?
Love it.
Oh no.
He is smaller than him. He's a tiny little dude.
That was the universe.
I liked a lot of what this said. I do just wanted to challenge that couple things about how it's like, well, he wanted to guide everyone in. So he essentially was admitting in my head that he was being derivative because he had to or he wanted to. That to me is
okay. Well, let's. So I've been listening to a podcast about the Ennead for the past week or so, and the Ennead, Homer, the idea of Homer, the Greek author, being a single historical individual is probably bunk, right? Like the Iliad, the Ennead, many of these stories were like passed down orally for hundreds to thousands of years prior to being written. And there probably was an author who aesthetically took and packaged up and like did the, pentameter, the septameter, or whatever it is, the decambic septameter, that all of they were written in and like concretized it all into the 24 books. But there's many of those stories come from prehistory or from time before Homer was alive, the historical Homer who concretized them all into these books. How is that any different than referencing the Lord of the Rings and Arthurian legend and Gnostic gospels and Zoroastrian mythology and, reincarnation theory from Eastern religion? Like, where do you draw the line in the sand?
I guess it's just the damn it, it's the names, man. Galahad shouldn't be called Galad. We shouldn't have the guy. We shouldn't have such obvious names. Like,
but are they one-to-one? Like, if you took out Galad, would it be a one-to-one correlation? Is Morgase and Morgan a one-to-one correlation? Is Kalendor and Excalibur a one-to-one correlation? No. They're reinterpretations. They're riffs, right? They're archetypal riffs on historical precedent.
Yeah.
They're not.
They just sound.
They're not one-to-one plucked threads threaded through this.
Yeah, just
is
like
that? But is that not ham-handed a little?
No, I think because I mean, if it was, you would have. Let's see. Egwene was Guinevere, and
Yeah.
Lan
Egwene
was
over there.
Lance, and Lan was Lancelot. So Egwene would have had to fuck Lan,
Yes.
and that didn't happen. And so you have names that are certainly recognizable and easy to recognize. Because
Yeah, Arthur Pendragon what was King Arthur's last name?
Pendragon.
Pendragon.
Pendrag. Well, yeah.
Oh,
so you have
Pendrag,
Pendrag,
yeah.
yes, Pendrag.
But then what? I mean, did
Jesus.
Arthur Pendrag,
Just
build
call him something
Camelot?
else. Damn.
No,
yeah, damn, this is
Okay.
such a weird
So
thing.
sorry.
Okay.
he
I'm so
killed the
sorry.
villain's son.
Jansen, what do you feel
Christ.
about it?
You know what?
Right back.
Is it true?
Is it true?
Is it what's true?
All of it.
Ooh.
Like, if you think about it, like,
Well,
because if you think about an age, right? It's understandably speaking that we can go back, 2,000 years and say that's probably the start of an age, maybe. If we go back 2,000 years, like, at least the Bible tells us that, like, and even, the way we talk today in history, everything BC, when Jesus was born, we celebrate the birthday, Christmas, and all those things. So that's pretty much the start of a new era, a new age. And yet the pyramids were like 5,000 years old when Cleopatra was born. So that entire age before all of this 2,000 years that I just talked about, all that was happened with some of the biggest technology on earth and all kinds of things. And before that, something else happened that we don't know about. So
I kept waiting for Galad to bust out the watermelon and smash it with a hammer.
or someone in a lake, a lady in a lake.
Galadriel?
So that's what I'm saying, is all of this true? Can the argument be made that it's all true?
I mean, there is this quote from Jordan right here. I quote, gathered together a lot of legends, fairy tales, and folk tales from around the world and stripped away the cultural references so that just the bare story was left. Then I reverse engineered them.
Yeah. So Elvira became Alviandra. This is all fine. We know this.
Exactly.
Well said.
7-Eleven
7-Eleven became Savannah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Dan, like, I want to help you with this because, like, there's like an intentional art to the names, and it's not willy-nilly. And I know it bothers you, but I think it's like if it's like KY jelly for the reader, like, don't we all love lube? We love lube.
I love it.
Damn, Cavs.
Yeah, man. Yeah. When I just like Arthur Pendragon, like these things, I just wish to me was like, I don't want to say like a lack of creativity in such a creative novel, but this essay didn't necessarily make it seem like, it
didn't defend it for you in a way that was defensible.
I suppose. Yeah, I suppose so, because he admits that he did it on purpose. Like, and then he did totally hard. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, there's the influence that's like unconscious. Like, you live your life, and like, yeah, if you're like growing up in the New York jazz scene, that's going to influence how you play. And like different jazz musicians around the world can almost like identify where you're from because of the nuances of how you play. That's an influence that is the type of influence that Andy Warhol claims to be against. And first off, fuck that guy. Like that's like that quote. I hated that quote.
That was Oscar Wilde, not Andy Warhol.
Or okay, fuck both of them.
Oscar Wilde. Andy Warhol
is the soup cans.
Is the opposite.
Okay, I mean, Dan, can you give credence? I mean, along with the publishing thing, but like, there is this idea, and they even talk about it at the end of this chapter. Like, a story can't deviate too much from its genre and still be classed within that genre, right? Like
Exactly.
I hear you.
If the Wheel of Time diverged too far, too fast, too quick, too deep from its progenitors, its predecessors, wouldn't have found the footing that it needed with readers, with publishers, in the hearts and minds of individuals to like pull you along. And I don't know the answer to that. It may be that yes, it very well would have. And looking back, we would have lauded it for its creativity and originality, right?
I'm not upset with the story or how it's written at all. Like there's certain beats. I mean, with Rand off the side of the road and the fade stopping, that to me was like pretty beat to beat, almost like, you know, him stopping and smelling almost and doing that thing and then riding off. But for the most part, my issue is just like with the names but the story wise, I don't have an issue with a young person having a quest that is going to probably end with their death, etc., etc. I don't have
episode 3 or episode 4 is defensible for its ham-fistedness. Star Wars Episode 9 is not.
Ham-fistedness in regards to
these same kinds of things, references. Arthurian legend and fucking, Western movie tropes and all the things, right? Whereas like The Mandalorian very much allowed, because it's a spaghetti Western fucking science fiction, it can go ham-fisted hard because that's part of its identity.
Yep.
Correct.
I don't exactly know the parallels I'm drawing here, but like,
well, they created their own genre. They can do whatever the fuck they want with this.
But now, like, when go ahead.
I was going to say, keep in mind, as a person who is writing, I write music, I orchestrate music, I do whatever, and then I borrow. There's only a certain amount of chord progressions that you can do before you run out of them. And so you have to do, you have to try. Every person who's writing a story, every person who's writing a song is trying to be Elvis Presley or the Beatles or create this breakout, the new genre or whatever. But what many people fall into is whatever is the existing thing. And so they do borrow these things. How many character names are there in the Wheel of Time? Like 2,700 or something. And so I think at some point you're like, here's my main character, Faluvia Schwa, because that's a name no one's used, and it's stupid. And so you have to kind of, look at your audience and draw from. I think I'm losing my thought, but you have a limited amount of things that you can do, because not everybody can break out into a absolutely new genre. And so I think like what Josh was saying is that you have to work within the parameters and be creative, yes, but otherwise it's not high fantasy, or it's not the fantasy genre at all. And so I think he drew those names, and maybe it was a bit
too spot on,
a bit too much. But what I loved about that, in sometimes, when it was like Arthur Hawkwing, I was like, oh Jesus, I know who that is. It's Arthur the Legend. But what I liked about the way he split that off was that then you had Bearlane, who was Bearlane Pendrag, Bearlane something Pendrag. And so you get to see how that name evolved over time and throughout the age and throughout whatever. And so it wasn't necessarily that she was
Tuon as well.
Tuon Pendrag, and you get to see how the threads are fitting together, which is the Wheel of Time, which is the philosophy.
I mean, I really want to lean into this idea of like the Heroes of the Horn. Like, what I really like, these names could very well be emergent properties of the underlying mythos of the world, right? Like, in the same way the Heroes of the Horn are reborn to play these roles, couldn't you imagine the names of historical figures who play particular mythopoetic archetypes within the unfurling of the wheel carry the namesake of
So
their
it's possible that
progenitor?
Brigitte, when she is reborn, she's Bridget, or she's
Right.
Birdie, or she's
Mhm.
she's always just, and Geidel is like Michael,
Michael
Is it
Caine.
possible?
All right.
So is it possible that Burnt, Wind, and Hopper
Yeah,
are
string, exactly.
fire in another lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, and then I think very early on we get the reference from Tom Maryland. Like he references Mosk and Merc.
Right.
And I think this is what String Flame's getting at. He says still a couple minutes behind, but aren't the names supposed to suggest that names lived on in stories through the turnings, and our legends still have some semblance of the real stories behind the myth?
And I'm saying take that even one step further, in that the living people who embody those archetypes within the present world carry their names forward as a part of their emergent properties of being who they are within the myth, within the turning of the wheel.
Right. I don't know about you, but I'm turned on.
Yeah, did you just get a little felty?
It is rather meta and ridiculous of a thought, but
it is super meta and ridiculous, and this guy makes a pretty good case for it, though.
Are you saying that? Do you believe that this author is correctly identifying Robert Jordan's intention, or are you saying? Wait, and your issue is just like execution, like the names being so similar, but you totally agree that he's trying to do this bigger thing, or are you just saying like
you're asking Dan this question? Yes.
Yeah, Dan, is this whole article just kind of hooey?
No, the whole article is not hooey. I do agree. Okay. And I liked how he kind of talked about genre itself, and when you're talking about fantasy genre, there's certain dang things that you gotta, certain beat points that you gotta have. You gotta have a certain time period. You gotta have a certain environment. You gotta have a certain. There's got to be magic involved in some point. There's certain things that you gotta touch on in order for it to qualify.
Would you have liked it better if it was orcs and trolls, and he wasn't playing these games with just changing them enough?
You know what? That's a really good question.
When they were talking about trees and bolts.
Yeah.
Trees and rivets, but yeah.
Rivets. Mm-hmm. Trees and rivets. That's what they were talking about. So, and the crazy thing, like I was saying before, thanks, rivets, the whole wheel turns into both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, and he ends it on this great way that, like, perhaps we'll see trees and rockets or something.
Trees and rockets, yeah. Both rockets and hobbits, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just wanted to throw this question out here because I've been dying to ask it of other readers. It's like, are these characters affected by genetic manipulation, right? Like, is there science underlying Manetheren and the Ogier? I guess the Ogier we know are from a parallel turning we learned, but like, is the ability of people to use magic?
Well, it's possible.
Are they genetically manipulated in order to be able to do that?
We never saw.
Right.
All right, guys, I got to step in here. He's getting too close to the source. I don't know if we can continue this conversation.
What?
Hey, if he's gonna unveil the genetics, like the natalism inside.
Cut him off.
It's a bigger question, but I mean, I do wonder, like where are the rivets in the ability of the Manetheren to use the one power, right? Like,
yeah, well, we know they're like made like races,
right?
Like the Nim, right? Like the Aes Sedai created the Green Man to like protect the Eye of the World.
I still
right, like, so
well, Josh. But to your point, Josh, we could potentially have people who can channel and just don't know it.
Right.
Within right. If that's a genetic thing, then that seed of spark or whatever, that whateverness, does exist in a good 10% of the people or whatever.
Right.
You know.
So do they all have whatever that genetic component is that Nemengarden mentions?
Yeah, I think it's like the mutant gene. It's
mutant
late
gene.
and it hasn't emerged, but
Right.
it is not necessarily the product of like Agenor manipulating genetics, which then accidentally activates a connection to the Force or the One Power or whatever the magic system is.
Right.
But everybody has, the X gene, and at some point, some
people have it accidentally turned on.
Some occurrence in the world necessitates that gene be activated, and then suddenly someone can touch the true source.
Right.
I mean, and I love the whole. I love going back to the idea of like our world right now having magic, like the ability to channel's there. We're just, and like there are people genetically like being born and living their lives with this latent ability to channel, but we live in such a repressed society that we are not expressing these abilities. But like if you look at like the world religions, if you look at like intensive like meditation practices where like people are like achieving like the ability to slow their heart rate and do these whatever like crazy things.
But we do got to accept that the power is stronger. So in the book that we're reading, if you can channel and you're 12, 14, 15 as a girl, you get your menses and then you get hit with your one power sickness or whatever. Rand had the one power too. There was no avoiding it, it seems. So we have to either say that people are just more in tuned on a genetic level, or the magic just gets stronger,
or that you can explain like onset of like.
Think about this, man. The standing flows sure sounds like power lines to me. And if that's the case, man, just plugging in my blender is plugging in a Terangriel that I'm about to use.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you the weather. I don't have to listen to it. I just look at my phone. Tell you Puerto Rico, it's a high of 81, a low of 73.
No, but Dan, there's a whole idea of like community psychology that believes that like mental illness is not necessarily a problem with the individual.
Hey guys, it's at 8:10. I'm gonna have to bid you all the
okay.
Josh, it's been awesome. I'm
good seeing you.
This it's good to see you guys. I hope
likewise.
Too. I'll talk to you soon, guys.
Okay.
See you, Jason. Chapter 2.
So as I was saying, I'm already bored. Yeah. So community psychology, the idea that like it's not the problem of the individual, it's the problem of the community around it to like understand the individual. If you are like sparking, channeling, but you're living in this age right now, there's no reference point, there's no support system. You might just be like be considered crazy, just an idea of explaining like, I mean, what do you think is the reason why like we don't have magic now but this shit's happening?
Well, have you ever seen the documentary Ring of Fire from
about hemorrhoids?
About Johnny Cash?
No, it's about Indonesia and like
about
magic
the Black Plague
and chi and like the use of chi in medicine. Okay. This guy like lights a piece of paper on fire with his hand.
Oh.
No.
It's a beautiful documentary. Well worth watching if it's not something you've ever seen. Ring of Fire from 1991.
Okay.
Are they, is that the one where they're like in a circle, like in like a lotus, but they're like bouncing and just like getting 3 feet air while like in this weird position, and then they try to have like real like Olympic gymnasts try to get off the ground in that position and they couldn't even get off 1 inch?
That might be one of the scenes as well. Yeah, that might be one of the scenes as well. I don't recall that one, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, these fuckers were flying, dude.
Yeah, so like
it just brings me like, what is magic, and like where are the boundaries of that, Ryan? I guess is my question for you. And I do want to loop back on Dan, and still I want to hear Dan's answer to the question of like, if it wasn't reworded. Like it was just trolls and orcs and dragons and hobbits. Like, how would you feel about that? How would you feel? Would you feel differently than you do now?
And yeah, I'm glad that you brought this back because it is a little difficult question. I think that if there were orcs, I think I would be fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I wouldn't have an issue. In fact, I think I would like it a little better. If they were called like snarls, let's say everyone called them snarls. They're like, oh shit, the snarls are coming. I think I would love that even more. Like just their own thing that doesn't sound anything. So yeah, either own it or just go way over, but don't like brush against it.
Is what is causing the part of the problem for you.
Yeah, Myrddraal and Fade, and I don't mind that name at all. The only thing I mind is like that little roadside thing where it stopped and like you couldn't see its face, and it was like that was too close to Nazgul. But from there, I'm fine with it. I don't mind Myrddraal and Fades at all. And I don't mind anything. Just name wise, I'm glad that they didn't call them entrails. I like Ogier. Ogier's far enough away that there's no connection. I like some separation. Just be a little creative. He named Ogier after like the street that he always parked on or something. But whatever. So,
oh my god,
that reminds me of they were interviewing AC/DC back in the day, the band, and they were like, yeah, people are saying that it's like all AC/DC, like all cards to the devil or whatever the letter.
Antichrist,
like,
Child.
Antichrist Devil Child, and they're like, is that what it is? And they were like, no, like it was on a sister's sewing machine. Just AC, just it means power.
Yeah, AC/DC. Yeah, we like that strong.
That's really funny.
Go on, Josh.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just going to make fun of Dan a little bit, but maybe you should just go on.
Well, I was going to say, so the book I'm reading right now, City of Dreaming Books by Walter Mowers, the names are all spoonerisms where they like rearrange the first letter of the like last name and the first name of different authors. So it's like set in this alternate world where everyone is an author, or like there are these creatures that are kind of like called.
So Walt Whitman would be Walt Whitman.
Well, it's not quite that bad, but like
I'm just kidding.
William Shakespeare is like Alistair Linspear.
Okay.
It's not quite spoonerisms where they aren't quite as brutal as that, but like basically all the authors' names are mixed up, but just enough that if you pay attention, you can kind of reverse engineer them to get back to the original author's name. And I find that like thoroughly entertaining and fascinating.
Yeah.
But what are they saying about it? So what does it say about
it's
the world?
It's far enough for me that like something like Galad and Galad are close enough where I agree with Dan. It's a little heavy-handed. It's a little like on the nose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas he could have gone a little further and like even like a couple letters more, right? Like would have been enough to make it not feel so heavy-handed. So I agree with you in this, but I also recognize that like the time and place the books were written, and like this is his first book, and like there's so many other contributing factors that it's hard to like come down too hard on it for me. So I just want to say I understand where you're coming from.
Thank you.
But I also recognize the contextualness of it and see the deeper meta story that comes along with it as well. So
interesting. I think, yeah, I was thinking that like
Dan,
this.
Dan, not all Homers are Homer.
I heard Homer may not even exist. It's just Yeah. Cool. I forgot what I was gonna say. Homer. Blockchain.
Yeah, I'm good at that. All right. Well, I think we've kind of like done a really good job discussing. Please, if you haven't yet, go out and get your copy. It's going to magically appear below me. Go out. Thank you, assistant. Go out and get your own copy of The Wheel of Time and Philosophy. So far, so good.
Yeah. What next week? The title of the essay is "The Wheel of Time and Authorship: The French Connection."
Nice.
By Roger Cook.
Yes. Wow. Bong chicka wow wow. And
so we're having fun with this. Yeah, this is all we want to do is just talk weird connection stuff about the books.
Yeah, stories have power.
So I can't post in the regular chat now, but I just posted a list. Oh, it's cutting it off in the private chat. But I posted a list of some of the names here from this book that I'm reading. One of my favorites is Hornac de Blois for Honoré de Balzac. And Rachid El Clarabio for Charles Baudelaire.
Okay.
I mean, they're pretty fucking good. They're pretty.
Astral Chickens is Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens, that's right. Igor Vopti for Victor Hugo. I mean, they're pretty fucking funny. Melvin Hermel for Herman Melville.
Yeah.
So they're not quite like
Doylan Cohn for Conan Doyle.
Conan Doyle. Yeah. I mean,
Josh, didn't you go through your Dadaist phase, like specifically German Dadaist? Weren't you doing that for a couple years?
I love Dadaism, sure, and they reference Dadaism in this book too. They have a whole
Isn't
bit
that
about
the song?
it.
Da da da.
We definitely got the Dadaist poem sampled in some homunculus tracks for sure during that phase.
You got a little Dada in A-Tracks?
Yeah. There's a Dadaist poem that we sampled in there for sure.
That's when I've been loving watching the golfers pass by behind you as they get along their course. Yeah, it's good to see them hitting away from you. Yeah.
I'm surprised the sun hasn't moved at all.
You're close to the boar.
Yeah,
November,
last week I was in the forest, and this week I'm in my clubhouse office.
In the clubhouse office.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, y'all.
All right. Fuck yeah. Hey, the wheel time turns, the age is coming past, but the way the leaf continues on.
Keeps on continuing. Keeps on rolling.
Everyone run for your lives. This is the way the leaf